Hey, this is Craig Shoemaker and welcome to Ugly Outfitters. Now on this page I'm demonstrating how to integrate the Infragistics drag and drop framework, jQuery, and Microsoft Ajax Preview 6. And so there's a number of the different goodies from each one of the items here that's in play. You know, instead of just making a blog post and doing something with like tables and keeping everything really bland, I thought, you know, I'd have some fun with it. We'll create Ugly Outfitters. This is a place where you can build really ugly outfits and drag and drop stuff around and kind of have some fun with it. So for instance, let's take this really ugly shirt. We drop it here in these ugly pants and you know, that's not ugly enough. There we go. So you'll notice as I brought each one of these in and when I dropped it, it brought in the large image, it updated the label and updated the description. Now, normally what you might do is basically bind these lists here up in HTML with maybe like a repeater or something and then do some of the client work. Well, what I chose to do was something a little bit different, and that is bring in all of the data in a JSON array. So none of it's really embedded into the HTML, and then I have a number of different client templates that I'm binding to in order to make everything happen. So we'll drop into Visual Studio here, and you can kind of see how everything works together. There are also 3 different versions of this file. You'll notice here that I have one that uses the script manager, we have one that uses the script loader, something new in Preview 6 of Ajax, and then a completely static example where basically I'm bringing in the JSON data from a JavaScript include, and I'm using the script loader to do that, and so that's kind of a really interesting way to go about it. So here's the page in Visual Studio, and you'll notice here we're starting off just with a regular web form. We've got a script manager on the page. We bring in Microsoft Ajax. We have to overload the Ajax files that are brought in with the normal script manager and point them to the new Preview 6 files. And so that's what I'm doing here. And then also I have the Infragistics files, so the drag and drop framework and the IG objects files. So we're bringing those in. Basically everything from the H1 down is pretty much the same in each one of the implementations, but you'll notice here I have my first client template. Here's the shirts, and basically I'm just binding to the list of shirt objects and creating an image for each one, putting the name in there. I scrolled wrong there. In the class, I'm using this basically to pass some arguments into the function that's being run when you drop the image on it. So I'm saying that this is a shirt and it's denoted by an S, and down here you'll notice that the pants have a P. So I have the item index, so when you drop the item, I can go to the index, find the data item, and then do something with it. So then I'm setting the title and I'm setting the alt tag, and all that's kind of standard. Basically the same client template exists for the pants as the shirt. It's just, you know, the classes are different, it's pointing to some different places, but the format is basically the same. The next piece here is I have the full view, and this is a template that binds to a single item. So what I do is create this little object here, this item view, and it basically flattens out all of the information that I need in order to show in that one area on the screen. So I've got the shirt file name, the shirt description, the title, and then the same for the pants, the file name, description, and title. And so when I set everything up initially, I build up this item view and then bind it to this client template, and then I have like my starting position. So you notice here basically the same thing with the images. I set the source, and down here I've got the description and the shirt title. Now something that you need to be aware of is that since the client template acts as basically like a repeater, it's going to create a new instance of this entire template for each one of the items in your list. Even if you have only one item in your list that you're binding to, it will still take IDs and basically make them unique. So when this is rendered out to the browser, this is not shirt image, it's shirt image 0. And so that has some implications on your CSS and also your JavaScript. You'll notice here that these are pointing to IDs that are in that template that's been bound up in a client template. So anytime you have an ID, you need to be aware that it'll be modified in order to give uniqueness to each one of the items. So down in the JavaScript, you can see here that basically from the code behind, let's take a look here, I have this little build view model, and I've lazy loaded each one of the properties here. So I'm basically taking the array, so I have an I list of garment, and serializing it as JSON and returning it up as a string. And down here in this class, if you take a look at it, this is all my fake data. So normally you'd get this from a service or a database or something like that, but that's just stuck in here right now for simplicity. So I'm returning up a string, which is basically a JSON array, and setting that equal to these variable names here. And so once they exist, then I can do some stuff with it. So when the page is ready, I bind the shirts, I bind the pants, I map to that item view that right here shows you, it flattens out to the items from the pants and the shirts, and then I bind that to what I call the full view, which is the large images and description and label, and then I initialize the drag and drop framework. So doing that, what I do is I grab the Infragistics drag and drop behavior, and then using jQuery, I kind of find the items on the page. So within the shirts, each one of the images I add as a source element, as a draggable element. And I do the same thing for the pants. Finally, the drop targets are the big pants and the big shirts. And so this is after that client template has been run for the middle area. So that is shirt 0 and pant 0 that I'm looking for. And then I add the drop handler. So what happens when things get dropped is that I take a look at the source element and I look in the class name and I parse it out. I split it based off space. So this gives me my two arguments. That's the item index and the type. So if I'm looking at a shirt, what I can do is take a look at the shirt at index whatever and grab the file name, grab the description, and grab the title and update those elements on the page based off of what I need. And so that's how the dynamic updates are done on the client. So there's a few other things I want to show you. Now, that was using the script manager. So there's another version of this that's basically exactly the same all the way down, except instead of using a script manager, I'm using the script loader. And you'll notice here I've started by using the Microsoft Ajax, the start.js, and then I have this loader file. So I can say that this page requires the data view, jQuery, and then the IG drag and drop. Now this was a custom include here, a custom script include that I've created. So if you go over to this loader.js file, open this up, you can see that here I have IG drag and drop. Now I have some execution dependencies saying that I need the IG control main and IG objects. And so those are defined right here, IG objects, IG control main. And then this is loaded property is just a way of knowing if the items exist within scope of the browser, then it knows not to load it again. But I've only in my page said I require IG drag and drop, and it's bringing in control main and IG objects automatically. So that's very, very cool. Now, the last piece of this is basically to take it one step further. Right now, this is an ASPX page, and that's required to be an ASPX page because I'm printing out that JSON array that's generated from the code behind. But what if you wanted to do this entirely client-side? Well, you could do that as well. If we come over here to build HTML, you'll notice here that I have my script loader. I'm bringing in the data view, jQuery, IG drag and drop, and then this garment data. If we go back to our loader file, you'll see here that I'm pointing to garmentdata.aspx. And what's happening there is basically I'm doing the same thing I did in the ASPX page, except the content type of this is set to be a JavaScript file. So if I do this as a JavaScript includes, it will generate this code and inject it into my page, creating a variable for shirts and pants with my JSON array. So that's exactly what's happening here. Based off of my loader file, I'm bringing in the garment data, and then now I have a fully client-side solution to use all three of those items. Now, one thing that's kind of interesting to note is that doing this here with the garment data, where I'm generating the JSON, that's kind of a security risk. You'll have to decide if you ever really want to do that. It's basically creating a service so that off of a GET, anyone could get all of that data as a JSON array. You may or may not want to do that, but I'm just showing you here how it can be done. So there you have it. We're putting together Infragistics drag and drop framework, jQuery, Microsoft Ajax Preview 6. Do yourself a favor, go grab some ugly clothes. So this is Craig Shoemaker. Thanks a lot for checking this out.